And we are now joined on the stage by the 2023 Daytona 500 champion, Ricky Stenhouse, driver, the number 47 Kroger Cottonelle Chevrolet for JTG Doherty Racing. Just give us your thoughts about winning the Great American Race, Ricky.
Man, I think back to really all week, but really think back to this morning. I woke up and felt really good about the day. I normally don't get nervous, but I was a little nervous, but like anxious and excited, ready to go. My wife and I, Madison, we went in the gym and did a small little workout just to get going this morning, and just felt relaxed, felt good about the day. Knew our car was strong after Friday's practice. Mike and our engineers made some really good adjustments after the duels on Thursday, and felt really good about our car. We did two 20-lap runs and stayed on the same set of tires for that practice session on Friday night, and felt good with the adjustments that we made, and the car did everything that I needed it to do. The only thing that we didn't have when we started the race was track position. We started 31st, and first stage I felt like was getting a little hectic up front, and it was just kind of a parking lot. We were just side by side for the whole stage, and so we just kind of rode around and just kind of watched it. And then we got track position there in the second stage, was able to get some points. Felt like we might have got snookered a little bit there on the strategy, a lot pitted, but it was nice to get up front and learn what the car was doing up front, which I think was beneficial for once we had those restarts late. And once we sped on pit road, I kind of thought our race was over, but felt like the good Lord was watching out for us. I was serving the penalty, and then all of a sudden they had a big wreck right there, kind of where we were running, getting into turn one. So that gave us a second chance, and I knew that my team Tuesday's meeting was not going to be very good, because we preached all season about not beating ourselves, and there I went speeding on pit road, just trying to get really wasn't trying to get everything out of it, but got a little too much. And so I felt like once the caution came out, I really had to kind of put my elbows up and get back to the front to give us another shot to win, so I at least could tell my guys that we had a shot to win. And once we got up there, the 8, 3, 24, and myself, obviously we cleared the 17 and 6 and put all Chevys in the top 4. And then I was blocking the 22, and he got up underneath me, and I kind of thought our race was over at that point. And then we had that restart. The 17-6 chose the bottom, which kind of shocked me a little bit. Gave us the 6th starting position behind the 22. And with the 8 and 3 on the front row, I thought that they might try kind of the old school restart of pulling down in front of each other. And I knew that would give our outside lane a huge run off of 2. Kyle was pushing me like crazy down the backstretch, and I waited just long enough to go to the bottom once he was clear as well, and that gave us the lead. I was hoping we were going to get back to the white at that moment, and we didn't. Big wreck behind us, and again, a perfect scenario for me. I picked the top. I felt like our car was better on the top, and I knew Kyle was going to take the front row. You can't give up a front row starting position. I was just hoping that Bell was going to go third, because I felt like Logano and that manufacturer was a really good pusher. And so once we went green, we got the lead. I was a little nervous because we were low on fuel. Our low fuel light started flashing at me, and so I knew we needed to get back to the white. And once we did that, I felt like we could make it all the way back around. But the 22 had a huge run, got to my outside. Kyle had a huge run, and he kind of shipped the middle. And then I looked in my mirror, and here comes Christopher, and gave me a big shot down the short chute there into 1, and got out front enough for when the caution came out. So everything played out perfectly for us at the end of that. I mean, it's a Daytona 500. It's a long race. You're gonna have good parts and bad parts, but we just kept pushing through.
Good deal. We're going to start up front here with Lee, and then we'll go over to Jordan.
Congratulations, Ricky.
Thank you.
I talked to Mike right after the race, and he said that you took him somewhere he had never been before, and now it was up for him to take you back. And he wasn't going to stop until he got you back to where you deserve to be. When you have that kind of relationship with somebody, and before you were in here, he even said you guys shared a bed once. So,
Yes,
um,
we have.
can, can, can you just, reflect on that and somebody who cares enough about you to see you to the end?
Yeah, I think it was, really big for myself. I mean, not winning since 2017, having struggles, ups and downs, to have somebody like Mike who, when he took over the reins as soon as the season was over, it was, hey, I know you can still get this done. We just got to give you the right opportunities. We know that if we give you cars capable of running up front, you can do that. We've proven that. And, I felt like his leadership throughout the whole shop is still not even, I mean, yeah, we won here at the Daytona 500, but I still think, the fruits of that is going to come later on from, his leadership in the shop and making sure, most of these guys that we have are the same guys we had last year, but, he believes in myself more than I do, I think, and that's huge. I feel like that's what separates crew chiefs these days is, that team aspect and leading your guys and getting the most out of them. We all have similar equipment, and that wasn't always the case in this sport. So now it's, little nuances like that help, propel a race team forward. We all felt confident this off season, but it's special to do it with Mike. We've accomplished so much together. We've gone through ups and downs. He's been in the sport a long time. He's a Cup champion. As a car chief with Kurt Busch. I think he's won this race before, not as a crew chief, obviously, and our Nationwide Series championships and race wins were something that we're super proud of. But we know that those were 10 years ago, and we need to make some new memories.
Go to Jordan, then to Bob, and then to Jonathan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. A few questions from me. What makes you such a good super speedway racer?
Man, I don't know. So when we were in the Nationwide Series, it really wasn't one of my favorite things to do. We had some good runs, but I don't feel like I knew exactly what I was doing. I was always, looking forward to the 1.5 mile racetracks in the Nationwide Series. In my Cup career, we got some good finishes in super speedway racing, but it was more of, laying in the back, missing the wrecks, not really being on the offense. And then when I was at Roush Fenway, Jimmy Finning kind of took over our speedway program and felt like at that moment he gave us cars that had speed, that you could go on the offense, that you could make, big runs, you could make passes, you could learn the side draft. And I felt like that's when I learned a lot about, super speedway racing and really felt confident, to make runs and studied, what the leaders were doing, how they were staying up front. I mean, I feel like at the end of the races, there's generally, similar guys at the front of these races. And it's, some of it's luck, but, a lot of it's skill and in your spotter, the way y'all work together. Mike Herman Jr., when we were at Roush Fenway, felt like he was a really good super speedway spotter. Tab Boyd came on the market last off season, 2 seasons ago, and we were lucky enough to pick him up. And I felt like that, kind of upped our game over here at JTG Doherty Racing on the super speedways, and they gave me fast race cars as well. So it takes a combination of all those things.
In your opinion, what do you think has been holding JTG back from taking that next step, like you've seen other mid-sized teams take?
Well, I think I came from Roush Fenway Racing, and I saw all the resources that they had and the support from the manufacturer. And then I went to JTG Doherty Racing, and honestly, I was surprised at how much nice equipment and how they ran things, and how much of the car they actually built. I wasn't 100% sure what it was going to look like when I went into the race shop. But now, for us to, kind of take that next step, obviously this is our second season with this new car, and we've got more help from Chevrolet. We've been in the simulator way more this offseason than we were all of last year. And things like that, the resources that Chevy's going to help us out with, our alliance that we've built with Rick Hendrick Racing. Rick's been a great supporter of JTG Doherty Racing in the past. We've been using their engines, so I think that's going to be a huge help for us as well. Like Mike said, I caught the tail end of it there. This is huge for us, but I'm honestly super excited to get to Fontana, Las Vegas. Obviously, we had a decent test at Phoenix. We weren't where we need to be on the short tracks yet, but we were so far off last year that, the things that we've had at, our tools that we've had this offseason, we feel like we've made those short tracks better already, and we're looking forward to getting to those racetracks.
When you come to Daytona or Talladega or even like Atlanta, is your confidence much higher than it would be elsewhere?
Definitely, but I think everybody's is. But when you've been to a racetrack where you've been to Victory Lane in the Cup Series, you know how it works. The position that we put ourselves in this race last year, I think we led. I don't know. I was rewatching it right actually as I was getting ready to go out to the grid today. We were leading. The last 20 or so laps here last year, and we got crashed there on a late race restart with 5 to go. But I told my guys this offseason coming into this week, if we can get in that same position again, I would take it, and hopefully things worked out a little bit better. And there we were with a green white checkered. We had the lead and controlled the restart, and so I definitely have confidence coming back to these places.
Go to Bob, then to Jonathan, then the press box.
Right behind you, Bob.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. In 2018, when you're at Roush and know you're not coming back, are you thinking, my career's over, and kind of the same thing? Did you have any of those thoughts last year when you're trying to do a contract extension at JTG, knowing you hadn't won yet with that team?
That was 2019. And that was, something unexpected. Honestly, I kind of thought I had a contract through 2023. So that was the kind of crazy part about all that. And so, my management team, Josh Jones at KHI, jumped on the call on the phone as soon as, we met with Roush Fenway at the time, and, got a hold of Tad and Ernie, and started working the doors there. And I had some great partners with Sonny D, who also stepped up and called on my behalf. And so had a lot of great supporters, that I felt confident in of getting me a good job. And when I got over to JTG Doherty Racing, like I said, I didn't know what to expect, but I was super impressed with their whole race team and how they ran it. And, I was looking forward to getting this car, technically a year prior, because I felt like, once we were, in comparable equipment to everybody else, that, they had all the right people to get the most out of the race cars. And I felt like, I could do the job behind the wheel. So, we had done my contract a lot earlier than we announced it. So I don't know, maybe you asked me about it and I forgot that we had already done it a long time ago. So, I don't think we show up to the racetrack. We JTG Doherty Racing's got realistic expectations. We were building this program together. We were excited when we got, like I said, a car that was comparable to everybody else's, and knowing it was going to be some growing pains over last season. We knew that. There was times we had a lot of hope. We went a month straight with our worst finish of 8th, but then we kind of fell off. But the bigger teams were able to learn a lot more at a faster rate, and I felt like that's what got us behind. So, this offseason, we've really focused on that. And like I said, I'm excited to go to these racetracks like Fontana, Las Vegas, and really see the potential that we've gained over this offseason.
Got a question up in the press box after Jonathan.
Jonathan Field, the racing experts in ESPN Radio Albuquerque. Ricky, you started racing when you're a young kid, and every kid dreams of winning the Daytona 500. I know you won year before in July, but what was it like just being out there in victory lane, being on the start finish line, just knowing that you were the champion?
Yeah, it's super cool. Like you said, I've been racing a long time. I grew up going to the racetrack. My mom took me to watch my dad when I was 6 weeks old, and I've been going to a racetrack for an average of 40 weekends a year, I would say, my whole life. And I came down here in 2006, Buckner. Jeff over here has been a long supporter of my career. Him and I, he's a Tennessee guy. He had met with Bobby Hamilton at the time. His shop was in Nashville. We flew over there, walked through Bobby Hamilton's race shop. He invited us down the Daytona 500. We jumped in for the truck race. We jumped down, and Bobby Hamilton won that race that year. And you could see an awkward kid standing behind him, and during his interview, and that was me. And so that was in 2006, and I was, impressed with this racetrack. I'd never been to anything like it. I went to my first Cup race was like the '92 Coke 600 back in the day, but I was finally old enough to kind of picture everything. And so since then, that was kind of the goal, is to try and get here and race. And then 2008 was the first time I ever made laps around here in the ARCA car. And I've gotten to race this racetrack when it was the old school racetrack where it was worn out, it was rough, a ton of fun. I feel like it's starting to get a little bit of that character back, but it's been a dream for a long time, and super cool for us to be here.
I remember seeing that clip around
Yeah.
the internet, you in the background.
Yeah, awkward.
And I guess just, going forward, Mike talked about, I guess, finding your mojo again. Well, what does this win do for you already, and what do you want it to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's we're not done. I think Mike and I got a lot of things left to do. Again, it's been a short off season. I feel like we've Mike's moved the needle on where this race team's at. Like I said, the resources I feel like we have now, moving forward throughout the 2023 season. There's still a lot left to prove that we can go be competitive, on all racetracks. And it's a speedway win, which is huge. It's the Daytona 500. You got to be able to win on them all. And throughout my career, Mike and I have won on short tracks, mile and a halfs, and super speedways. So we do feel like mile and a half racetracks are probably our bread and butter right now with this race car, excluding the super speedways. But we know that we got a lot of work left to do on the short tracks. And so, this gives us a boost of confidence. But, I know we're going to enjoy this one tonight. But I know that, everybody in the shop and all these guys on this race team are looking forward to getting to Fontana and kind of seeing where we shake out after everything we've learned this offseason.
Go up to the press box.
Bruce Martin with Speed Sport and with Forbes Sports Money. Ricky, when you're a single car team and it's the end of the Daytona 500, even though you had some Chevys that were helping you out, do you feel like the lone wolf out there?
Yes and no. Obviously throughout the whole race, I watched a lot of the first stage from, my view. I was close enough where I could just watch the leaders, and I wasn't really doing any racing. So I was watching all the teammates work really well together up there. We've had, Chevy meetings this whole week, and we preached about, trying to get, Chevrolet their 25th Daytona 500. And, we talked about working together. We didn't do great Thursday night in the duels. In the first duel, we learned a lot, and, they transferred that on to the second duel, and felt like our strategies worked really well today. So that was huge for us. Like you said, when I got down to it, the top four were Chevys at one point, and I felt really good about that we could kind of control the race. And then, when the five lined up behind me, I knew that if we got a run, he would probably go with me, or I was really hoping so. And we were able to, kind of shuck the 22 out and, both be first and second there. And then the last restart, yes, you need teammates, but, at that moment, as long as you had a good pusher behind you, I knew that 22 wasn't going to just, go to the outside of me, because you got to get the momentum going, and the momentum's in, numbers, and I was confident in what Joey could do pushing me, and then it was kind of a free-for-all once you take the white flag.
And also, there aren't a lot of sprint and midget drivers that have won the Daytona 500, but now you're the latest to have done that. And to know that you follow in the footsteps of guys like Mario Andretti and A.J. Foyt and Ryan Newman who have done that here, how important is that to you to show to the grassroots of America that you can come from that type of background and win the Daytona 500?
Yeah, it's special to me. I know, Kyle's done a lot for dirt track racing, open wheel racing. Christopher Bell, you look at what Alex Bowman's doing now, going back and forth and running sprint cars. I have a lot of fun running with my dad. We don't run as much as everybody else does, but definitely still a short track dirt racer. And I know how long and how important this race was. That when Tony, my former boss, tried to win this race for a long time, and I looked up on the screen during that one of those late cautions when the 8 was leading, and they were showing, I think it was his 17th attempt, and it was our 12th. So I know how hard it is for guys to win this race, and it's nice to go ahead and get that checked off the list.
Keep it up the press box.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. Congratulations, Ricky.
Thank you.
Jody and Tad were in earlier and were asked about and talked about their long time involvement in the sport and the efforts they've made to keep going, even though that hasn't always translated into trips to victory lane. I just wondered, you sort of had what many would have called a breakout year, like in 2017, where you picked up a couple wins. Has it been difficult since then? What have you felt at some point that you might give up?
Definitely never thought about giving up. I felt like, 2017 winning a couple races was huge for us. But I'll even look back at that season, and we still weren't super stellar. We had our ups and downs, but obviously 2 wins kind of puts a Band-Aid on some of those things that you can overlook. But I think for me, coming to JTG Doherty Racing was a nice reset. We had 2 cars at the time, moved to a single car team, which I think has been beneficial. We've been able to put a lot of focus on the 47 car, and everybody in the shop. I feel like the details are, really paid attention to. We got some of the best guys in the shop. It's super, super neat to see, how long, Tad and Jody have been in the sport. Around our shop, you see, pictures of, Tad going over the wall, doing jackman and tire changes, and they're out helping sponsors nonstop around here, and you partner them with Brad and Gordon and Mark. They make a great team, and so it's super cool to get them in victory lane. We had a great moment this offseason, I feel like, at our team lunch. Had a video put together, and it put some of JTG's wins in there, my wins in there, and kind of helped us realize that, hey, we need these wins together, and realize that we could do that. We've both done it in our past, and so it's special to do it together.
Go next to Mark, then to Chris.
Hey, Ricky, right here. Mark Long with AP. Obviously, it's a big milestone for you, but when you look at Jody and Brad, it's a milestone for NASCAR. How key is this thing for maybe the broader picture of where NASCAR is headed?
Yeah, NASCAR has been doing such a great job of, getting everyone involved in our sport, and even going out to areas of the country where we're not so prominent in. You look at LA, going to Chicago, getting down in some of the inner cities, and getting those fans interested in NASCAR. We got a lot of diversity on our race team throughout the garage, and it's cool to have two on our race team and put them in victory lane here at the Daytona 500. Super special, and NASCAR's leading the way in a big way. So it's cool to play a small part of getting them to victory lane.
Next to Chris.
Hey, Ricky. First off, I just want to say congratulations on the awesome win. I saw on the replay there that you climbed up the fence after your victory there. I was wondering, was that something you have thought about doing if you won this race, or was that kind of spur of the moment?
I feel like you never try and think about what you're going to do when you win a race, especially the Daytona 500. And my crew guys were out there. It was a bummer that I wasn't able to do a burnout because we didn't have any fuel left. So that was a bummer. I'm sure the Hendrick engine shop appreciates that. But, so when I won my first sprint car race, my dad climbed the fence. And then my first ARCA win in 2008 at Kentucky, he was in the grandstands, and we both climbed up the fence and met at the top. And then when I won Talladega, he climbed the fence on the backstretch where he always watches the races there. And so got out there, and the crew guys were like, hey, let's climb the fence. And then, I did the interview, and I turned around, they were gone. And so I decided to go ahead and climb it myself. So, just spur of the moment.
Have any word from Tony Stewart or Helio Castroneves what they thought of it?
I'm not sure. I know Tony didn't do pull-ups when he got to the top. So I know Elio can definitely do pull-ups when he gets to the top. I've done some workouts with him. So, I haven't checked my phone to see if Tony said anything yet.
Thanks, Ricky. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll go with Mike, then to Steve, then to Daniel.
Mike Hembry from the NBC. Ricky, do you come into this race every year assuming there will be a string of accidents in the last 5 or 10 laps? And if so, do you sort of steel yourself that you're going to have to make some quick decisions because of all that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at really any speedway race these days, and they're all like that. Every one of us out there know it's a really good opportunity to get to victory lane. Our cars are all comparable on speed, and the draft is obviously it's kind of a even playing field there for the most part. So, when we lost our track position after I spit on pit road, I think we were like 29th, and we were going to come in and top off and, maybe put some new tires on. But, we know track position is so important. So Mike said if 5 or 6 in front of us pit, let's stay out. That's just 5 or 6 less that we have to pass, in a 14-lap run to the finish. And so we did that. I felt like it was a huge, strategy play to, give us a shot. And then, it was chaos at the end. I mean, I got a good restart on the top, jumped to the bottom, and there was cars bouncing off the wall, bouncing off each other, somehow all keeping them going straight. But my line that I was in every time seemed to carry the momentum. And then all of a sudden I looked up, and, we were in, I think, 7th at the time. And so after that, it got a little bit calmer, but we were all pushing each other like crazy. Throughout the whole race, you're pushing in key parts of the racetrack. You push once you get in the flat off of turn 2, get your momentum down the backstretch. You release getting into turn 3, and then you get close again, kind of through turn 3, and try and carry that momentum all the way back, down the front stretch. Not a lot of bump drafting, and then a lot of bump drafting down the backstretch again. So I felt like everybody did a really good job of being smart and kind of methodical throughout the race. But when you're in 10 to go, it's like we all lose our mind and just push the whole time. And these cars are difficult to drive when you're getting pushed all the way around the racetrack.
Steve?
Steve Schweitzer with Alaska Press. How important do you feel the next-gen car and the, so to speak, leveling of the playing field contributed, or how important that was, do you think, in your race team being able to pull this off this evening?
I don't think this car helped us pull this off at Daytona. If you look, my very first race here at Daytona, we sat on the pole with the old school car. So that was huge. And I felt like, with the older car, I felt like we had race cars capable of winning while being here at JTG Doherty Racing. I think the car going forward at other racetracks is where we feel like it helps, kind of level the playing field to a point. Like I said, I think last season the bigger teams learned at a faster rate. We hit on some stuff for about a month and felt really good, and then we kind of seemed to lose ground to some of those bigger teams. So we look to make that jump this past off season. Feel like we've made the some big gains, and we're looking forward to this car, making competition, more and more throughout the season.
Go next to Daniel, then to Alan.
Daniel McFadden, Frenchers.com. Ricky, in the years since you got your first 2 wins back in 2017, there's been a lot of like criticism and jokes made at your expense because of your aggressive driving style in these races and accidents you may or may not have caused. On a night like this, on this stage, when everyone else is in the garage fixing torn up cars and you're crossing the finish line, not at least not much of a scratch on your car, do you feel like you got the last laugh tonight?
I mean, obviously you're going to have haters everywhere. And when you have somebody, at the time, like Kyle Busch, getting out and bashing you, that's difficult to overcome. But, I mean, I feel like I've put myself in some bad spots, throughout my career. But, the faster we get our cars, the more I can take care of them and still run them close to the front. Something I've always tried to do, which is, at sometimes an expense, is try and take a car, and try and get way more out of it than what's there. And so, I feel like that's my job to do as a race car driver, is to get, the most speed out of a race car that you can. But, also in this sport, you got to take care of it. And, you can't just leave it all out there every single race. So that's something that, I felt like this off season we've kind of met, and, Mike's, super confident he's in what he can do and what our engineers and team can give me. And, we'll assess each weekend, after practice and after qualifying, what our goals are for that given race day. And, so I think we'll do a better job of, kind of setting our realistic expectations each week. And if we feel like 15th is where we need to be that given week, then that's where I'm going to try and get the car to, and not try and get it to 10th or 5th, like I tend to do. So, that's something that we're going to be super focused on this year of, finishing races. Mike brought up this off season, back in the Nationwide Series when we had fast race cars. In 2011, we finished, I think, 98.9% of the laps. And in 2012, I think we finished 98.2% of the laps. And the only laps we didn't finish were crashes at super speedways. So we know that we can do that together as a race team, and we're looking forward to showing everybody that.
And where's the party going to be tonight?
I don't know yet. Somewhere. We will be here for a long time.
Alan?
Congratulations, Ricky, on winning
Thank
the
you.
Daytona 500. This is Alan Alfred from the Alan and Aaron Sports Radio Show. Throughout this whole week, I've heard drivers say that winning the Daytona 500 is circumstantial, but you just mentioned that you use a lot of strategy to win this race. Can you please explain, now that you won the Daytona 500, what are your thoughts on what it takes to win this race?
Definitely it's circumstantial at times. But, like I said earlier, you look at the history of this race, you look at the history of super speedway racing, and a lot of the same guys are towards the front. And, since 2016-ish, I feel like we're, some of those contenders that are at the front of those races towards the end of the race. And, this race, it's a long race. Like I said, the first stage, we didn't have track position, but I felt like I kind of went to school watching, what the leaders were doing, so that when I got there, I kind of knew what to expect. And then, we got there, and I felt really good being in the top 5 there. And at the end of that second stage, I felt like I pushed the 48 really well. The 48 and 1 and myself, I felt like really controlled, some of those last few laps coming to the stage in. So yeah, I mean, it's circumstantial. You gotta catch brakes at the right time. You gotta, be able to make moves, and your line's gotta go, but you're also looking ahead. Your spotter's giving you all the information that he can to make sure that, you have all the info to figure out which lane to be in. There was times where, Tab was telling me, hey, get to the top lane, get to the top lane. He saw something that I couldn't see in the front that killed the bottom, lane's momentum. and it propelled us past 4 or 5, and then we jumped back to the bottom, things like that. So definitely a lot of strategy involved, and calculated moves.
We're going to wrap right here with Matt Weaver.
Matt Weaver, Motorsports Tribune. I think Daniel kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I want to kind of take it a little further. And I'm curious, you mentioned like in your Xfinity Championship days, really good car, not have to be as aggressive, take what the car gives you, all that stuff. So from that standpoint, do you think the last couple of years where it seems like every year we get to the end of the season and you're right there on the bubble points wise, or maybe even needing to win, do you feel like from day one you're up against it and you have to race more aggressive? And to that point, now that you start off this season with a win, presumably in the playoffs, that now that edge is completely gone?
Yeah, starting the season off with a win definitely changes, I feel like, your mindset going forward. But as we saw last year, you're going to have to gain some points. You're going to have to stay ahead of eventual winners in the point standings to make the playoffs. So I think this season you could see more winners than we had last year. And that being said, we got to be on our A game from here on out. But like I said, I think everything that we've learned this offseason, I've got a lot of confidence in the cars that my guys are going to be able to give me, so that I don't have to overdrive them to get good finishes. And there'll be days that we'll finish 17th, 18th, but that might be our goal for that given weekend. We can't finish above 25th, right? I mean, that kills you in the points. So we're wanting to be consistent. Obviously we wanted to get a win. We've done that, but we do feel like there's other racetracks that we're capable of winning at, based off of our performance at some last year and the things that we've learned this offseason. So yeah, I think mindset wise, it definitely calms the nerves a little bit to go out and really focus on what we're doing only.
And then I know Mike woke up this morning with that conviction that you guys could do this, and there was always that conviction that you guys could do this. But I feel like the cars you had with them in 2020, 2021 were really, really good cars. I don't think this car was quite as good as those cars. And I'm curious, is the irony kind of not lost on you that you guys had arguably the best car here those 2 years, and you come back this year, qualify near the back of the field, and this is the year that you guys get it done?
Yeah, it's crazy. We were, our car in 2020 was amazingly fast. I think we shocked everybody with, getting the pole, and had really good cars those 2 years. We came here last year and we qualified, I think, 24th. So we qualified 10 spots better, but we were a second off the pole. We qualified 34th this year. We were 7.5 tenths off the pole. So technically we were closer to the lead cars. It was just like everybody got faster and we kind of fell back in positions. So I told my guys after Wednesday, I said, we have a set kind of standard of like, hey, here's our qualifying for super speedways. We've set the bar. Now let's try and make that better going forward. But I said, guys, we're closer to the lead pack cars than what we were last year, and we were leading this race, with 5 or 6 to go. I said, we have a car capable of doing that. And we, like I said, we made adjustments that gave up a little handling and ride quality for a little bit of speed. And I felt like in our Chevy draft on Friday night, I felt super confident in the car. Again, maybe not the fastest, but I felt like I drafted well. It handled good enough for me. And I felt like that was always, one of our benefits and kind of key things to have here at super speedway races is cars that handle good and being able to get pushed without, getting too out of shape. And I felt like I had that.
Well, Ricky, congratulations on winning the Daytona 500, and we'll see you next week at Fontana.
Yes, can't wait. Thank y'all.